Welcome to Ringside right now. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the ramifications of what happened at Night of Champions and how does Roman deal with a problem called the Usos, as well as maybe him getting some new hardware around his waist. And also, Collision now found out that it gets a shot of a cult of personality going to be added on. So, like sands through the hourglass, this is today's Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Ringside right now. You know, I'm your host, Pierre, and as always, I'm with the crew, Clint, Curtis, and Jonathan. And Calvin is on location scouting Philadelphia for spots for us to hang out at WrestleMania next year. So going before we get into it today, be sure you all share this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell just so you know when we download new content, and follow us on Instagram at Ringside right now. So, fellas, to start it off, we're going to talk about Roman and what went down at Smackdown. They had the official celebration of him being 1,000 days as champ. And of course, Triple H gave him a new belt, I guess you could call it, before the Usos, tried to show their appreciation, if you will, for uh, the head of the table. So, guys, tell me, what do you think about what went down on SmackDown between the Usos, Solo, and Roman?
First of all, was there any difference between the belt that he originally had and the new belt? Because it looked like the same belt to me.
It was gold, and that was the only difference.
Okay, good. It just wasn't just me then.
No, they basically just put the belts into one belt, and that's it. I mean, there was no difference.
Okay.
I try to be fair with the WWE when it comes, especially when it comes to their titles, but basically it's just been, and I don't know how long they've been doing this, but it's just like been a copy paste job.
I mean,
the belt, if you want a new belt, that's fine, but actually show that you're trying to make some difference between them, because if you're going to make, why make them all look the same? I mean, have some little creativity or some difference, or show difference to say, okay, when you see somebody with a title, okay, that's the US title. Okay, that's the Intercontinental title. That's the tag team title. And then it's like, wait a minute, what's that? What title is that again? We don't need that.
I mean, I don't really have an opinion on it. They just made it easier for him to carry belts. Instead of two belts, it's one belt. There's really no big change. So, I think we're reading too much into it. Everyone's saying, oh, it's too much like the same belt. It is the same belt.
I thought he had 3 belts now, because when he's walking around, it's like, oh no, he's going to have 3 belts now to walk around with.
Just the one belt. They're just combining them.
Mm-hmm.
And since they both looked alike, they both had the big W in the middle. Just keep the same belt, just change the color. At least Seth has a different belt.
I mean, say what you want about AEW's booking, their belt is phenomenal looking.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah. And then Garen and I were talking about the IWGP belt. Remember when we went to Chicago? I got the old one. The new one looks not very good, but the WWE belts are, for lack of, to me, some of them look like something you would get at a toy store. Honestly, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that's the catering to the bulk of what's going to pull the parents in. It's like the kids want the belt, so the parents are going to spend money on the belts, and then of course you'll have some belt mark like us who will comment they don't like it, and then there'll be the same guys who turn around. Well, I want the real version or the shop version, blah blah blah. So it is what it is. It's marketing. Provide something out there.
And I've always said that if you bring a belt to a wrestling show, you should have to defend it right there on the side. Somebody challenges you.
Well, I took mine to there and nobody bothered to challenge me. So, but I brought the Andre belt. But let's go into what actually went down between Roman and the Usos and Solo. That whole breakdown of the bloodline is pretty much now official. So guys, tell me what you think actually about that.
I don't know who wrote this, but they
Triple H.
should
I
get an
think it's Triple H.
Triple H should get an Emmy for this storyline. It's incredible. Incredible. I mean, what happened and what's gonna? I mean, it's like we beat the horse to death. It's must see TV. And I don't get Smackdown. I have to watch the YouTube highlights, unfortunately. But whatever. I look forward to the Friday nights when the stuff comes out to see what's going to happen. And I saw a short, and I was like, what did it said? What did Solo do? And I was like, what did this really happen? And I watched it. I was like, oh my goodness. So now you don't really know which road. I mean, it could go down so many different roads, and that's what's so
And
satisfying.
that's what's awesome about it, because you don't know, you can't predict it. You don't know which way it's going to go. They swerved us. We didn't know if Solo was going to go with the Usos or with Roman, and they actually had us going for a while. Okay, he's going with the Usos, and then they switched it up on us. You don't know where it's going to go.
You know what? Solo has really taken his game up a notch since
Yeah,
from the time.
definitely.
It never hurts to have Triple H book you, but like you guys said, must see TV. And I've always said, gone on record saying the Usos, as far as their mic work, has always been incredible. And just when you think they reach a peak, they step it up another level. And I've also gone on record saying Romans has even stepped up. He's been just nothing short of awesome on the mic. And I'm just, and we're getting back to those days where you can just throw anything at us, and then next thing you know, okay, this is the only bad part is you got to spend a week wondering what's gonna happen next.
And then you've got the emotion,
Exactly.
emotion of anybody that has it's like us. We're like family. You have family, you have disputes, and that authenticity's in there, and it makes it even better. And then you can tell, like promos and whatnot, they have that emotion. It's not hard to draw from that, because they all grew up together. And Jimmy's promo was heartfelt, and
Yeah,
didn't seem like it was
and
written by.
it's better when it's real family. This isn't like Undertaker and Kane. This is real blood family. This is real life.
Exactly.
So you got to wonder how much of reality fits into that.
And you gotta also give Jay credit too, the anguish and emotion you see on his face throughout this
Yes.
whole thing.
Jay is what's selling it, because you can see the conflict on his face. He doesn't know which way he wants to go. He wants to stay with his brother, but he also feels like he has to stay under Roman, and he can't quite shake that off. The facial emotion, the facial expression of Jay has sold this. He sold it when Sammy turned. He sold it Friday on SmackDown. Jay is the star of the show.
Turn on Roman, you will. Yes.
The key thing about Jay too, he was the first one to buck against Roman when he started the whole tribal chief thing.
Yeah.
And to now see him torn between now going back to fighting against or sticking with his brother, like you guys mentioning, this is why you watch wrestling, to get invested into something. It's not, I mean, the action is going to be 50% of it, of course, but that other 50% is what actually sells being a fan at this point. Can you get invested not only in the characters, but the storylines that's being presented, to where you're losing, there's a fantasy line there or whatever, but you start to blur that line now based on what you're seeing on TV.
This is like back in the day when we were younger and before NWO and all that stuff. When Hogan, they had 4 pay-per-views, right?
Yeah.
So they would build up for 3 months, or Razor and Shawn fought in the ladder match. There was storylines that paid off. I mean, Triple H is obviously a student of wrestling, tremendously respects it, and we've talked about him studying at the Tree of Dusty.
The great Dusty Rhodes. Yeah.
He obviously was paying attention and took notes, because this is one of the best storylines ever.
And I was quick to say Triple H, but I wonder how much input Paul Heyman has had into it also.
Oh,
Because,
he's a tremendous part of the storyline.
Yeah, we know the genius of Paul Heyman. Plus, he also started under Dusty. So
He's a genius. So
yeah,
I've said it before, and I'll say it many times going forward. It never hurts to have Paul Heyman in one of your big storylines.
yeah.
he's on my
I
list.
mean, the man. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I said he's on my short list of people I'd like to meet one day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Me
Oh
too.
yes, it'll be a great experience for him. One of the absolute best people around.
Especially talk to him about the whole Lawler, Austin Idol, Tommy Rich the night that they shaved Lawler's head. Just to
Yeah.
kick that.
Like
Oh,
Paul is one of those guys that you know how wrestlers they'll do the things where they'll just talk to the audience or whatever, at like a symposium or a Comic-Con or something like that. Paul's one of those guys that if I had to pay $100 to sit in one of his for a couple of hours just to hear him talk, I'm paying that $100.
We actually did that in New Orleans, me, Curtis, and Calvin, and it was one of the best experiences ever. Just sitting and hearing the stories he told. He can talk and talk for hours, and then he would answer questions, and there was a story to go along with each answer he gave. So yeah, it'll be definitely worth it. Just a night with Paul Heyman, just hearing him talk about his experiences in wrestling, and kind of picking his brain. The man is a wrestling genius, but he's also a wrestling fan as well.
Yeah,
I've actually had to get a chance to ask him a question. You're just going to be blown away at what he tells you, and you'll learn some things, and he'll probably throw some stuff at you that'll probably like, wait a minute, I didn't even think that of all people, Paul Heyman would say that.
Yeah.
So, final notes on basically the bloodline being blown up, fellas. So, what are your final thoughts or ideas of where things might go from here?
Well, I think they're going to have a tag match at
Yeah.
Money in the Bank, but
Oh man,
honestly, I don't know if Jimmy's going to be on the island of by myself, or if that's the great thing about this. You don't know how it's going to go. Obviously, Solo's a good soldier. I've always said that. I thought that, and he's whatever. But I mean, honestly, but by the time this is all done, I think Roman will be by himself, and the other
Yeah,
guys.
I think that's the plan. With this tag match, it's going to be the same thing I said with the tag match against Sami and KO. I said it can go a million different ways. The Usos could interfere or they could not interfere. They could turn on Roman. They could help Roman. They could cost them the match. There are a million different outcomes we could have gotten from that. There are a million different outcomes we could have in a match between Roman and Solo versus the Usos. Jay could turn on Jimmy. Solo could turn on Roman. Solo could go against his brothers. There are many different directions, and we can't really call it. And I think whatever happens in this match, we're going to be shocked. So
and
I
that's the
can't
best.
wait to see it. Yeah, that's the best. I can't wait to see it, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen on SmackDown this Friday.
And I can't wait to see what happens with that London crowd. They've been begging for something huge, and
man, I love having these shows with international crowds. That's brilliant.
Sure, the crowd will be hot. It's like a soccer crowd there. So
Yeah,
Puerto Rico probably almost.
I mean, let's just put it like this, fellas. It's going to be interesting to build up to see two Money in the Bank, and then on the SummerSlam, just how this whole bloodline implosion storyline actually ends up being fully fleshed out. And again, this takes away from people having to concentrate on Cody, and Roman getting the title or whatever, because now you're so vested on this side, you're not too much worried about that. Where Cody can still stay high, but at the same time, you're involving Roman to where you are invested in that side. So therefore, maybe Cody could be the one to actually give the whole kill shot, if you will, quote unquote. To Roman's, being head of the table. Now as far as losing everything, he's already losing his family, which Cody predicted. If you remember the promo that they had before WrestleMania, he predicted that the family's going to leave him. So what's the only thing he would have left is the title.
Exactly.
And Cody could be the one to give that kill shot.
I hope so. I hope that's the long-term booking plan. Speaking of Cody, that promo Monday he gave on Brock was awesome. I was thinking, okay, I don't really want to see a third Brock and Cody match, That promo had me hyped up. Now I want to see a match, and I want to know what stipulation they're going to go
It
with.
needs to be Hell in a Cell or something like that. They can't be just a regular match.
Yeah, or last man standing or something like that. Something to put.
I think Last Man Standing or Iron Man, one of those two. I think Last Man Standing would be a good one.
Something to put that nail in the feud, that nail in the coffin on that feud.
Which would add some more fuel to the crawling through broken glass to get the title.
Yeah. And speaking of Money in the Bank,
a night.
Yeah.
Man, I hope he wins. I'm rooting for LA Knight so hard.
I just wish it wasn't against Montez.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, I know they're trying to hold that team together, but like I said, I thought Montez this would be starting the start of him going solo, and I know they want to push him, but I just feel like maybe. Don't get me wrong, LA Knight deserves to be in that spot to try to win the Money in the Bank because he's so hot right now, and the guy is actually good. So, but I just wish it wasn't at the expense of Montez. That's just my opinion.
Here's how I rationalize it. Montez has been a star in the making for years. We know he's going to become a star. He's going to go on to a solo career and one day be WWE champion. That's been in the plan for years. What we haven't seen for years is what they're going to do with LA Knight. He hasn't had a good start on the main roster. They haven't been doing much with him. He was in the damn crowd at Night of Champions. So maybe they need something to use as a jumping pad for him. And maybe the briefcase is going to be it. So if that's the case, then I'm fine with it because Montez is going to be okay. I wish they hadn't put them against each other, but then again, listen to that crowd reaction. Well, you never see Montez get heat or get booed. They were actually booing Montez because they were behind LA Knight so bad.
LA Knight's got 10 years on him too, doesn't he?
Well, yeah. So he needs to go ahead and get that push now.
Yeah, and Montez is going to be okay because it seems like the last few years you will have probably like a second chance match with guys who didn't win their initial qualifying match. So I have a feeling they might put Montez back into another situation where he could get back into to the Money in the Bank ladder match. I would definitely really be invested in that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, maybe there's a second chance.
Well, I mean, maybe not necessarily because
same match. My God,
maybe not necessarily because I don't want to have to choose who I'm going to root for between Montez and LA Knight. LA Knight's already in it, so I'd rather just root for him to win it.
That's the beauty of good writing.
But yeah, it is.
He'll still have his moment of shine.
Yeah,
I think he's already.
I just hope this doesn't end up Montez becoming a similar Mustafa Ali type story, where he looked like he was on the verge of having a big chance. Now, granted, Mustafa lost his spot because of an injury, and it did lead to a Kofi Mania. Because of that, I just hope, even though it's not an injury involved, I just hope this doesn't become that type of story for Montez. Like you missed the opportunity, and now trying to build him up. Maybe not. Even if you bring him back as a heel, which I think he would actually be an excellent heel, to tell the truth. He has that personality to go with that. He really does. Because anybody who always has a cocky type persona, it's always easy to slide that into a heel persona.
And the finest wife in the game.
Think about it.
Yeah, if they wanted to go the power couple route, Bianca could turn heel.
Exactly.
Too. But since Bianca has been rolling around the ring with Asuka, she's probably going to end up pregnant soon, so we can wait on that.
All right,
she's been hanging around the goddess of fertility so long.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next topic.
Stop.
Yeah, we're moving on to the next one. So, as we know, Collision for AEW has announced Collision for Saturday night. It's going to be a 2-hour show on Saturday nights to go along with Dynamite and Rampage. And of course, the big news that everybody's been speculating, which is actually true, CM Punk will be on Collision. So basically, to have a separate roster for Collision to keep him away from the Elite and Adam Page and all the rest of the guys in the locker room that don't like him, and basically be able to assemble a locker room of people who like him, who are his friends, such as FTR, and other wrestlers like that. And of course, Ace Steel will be working behind the scenes on Collision as well. So, fellas, what do you think about AEW direction is going with as far as with CM Punk being on Collision exclusively, and how do you think that's going to work for Saturday nights?
I think it's great because they have way too many people. They needed another show.
Absolutely.
This maybe will force Tony to learn how to book stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I disagree for the reasoning behind it because we have to keep these guys away because they don't like each other. You're the booker, you run the company, you should fix that and get that taken care of. But yeah, they do need to split their roster up and kind of, not jumble all the booking up all at once. So maybe we'll see more better storylines. We'll see more pushes, guys who deserve it. Maybe we could actually get to see Miro on TV for once.
He's been confirmed to be for this Collision roster.
Good. Maybe we can actually do something with Keith Lee. Maybe we can actually do something with Ethan Page or Sean Spears. All this talent is just kind of going to waste.
Hey, I saw something today. I don't know if you saw Diners Club, sorry, Bullet Club, Light, Gold, whatever they're called, attacked FTR. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Punk wants to work with Jay White. I think that would be a pretty good program.
Yeah. And of course, we're not jumping all over Tony Khan here. We know that he's got the goods to make AEW great. He's got the goods to make it special. You just got to be able to utilize it properly. And having having two different rosters, two different shows, this is going to actually, to Jonathan's point, force him to actually be a booker, to actually create those storylines that will keep us intrigued. Because we want that. We're wrestling fans. And the more, the better.
Well, one or two things is going to happen. He's either going to be able to focus more on certain guys who's on split rosters, or having two rosters to book is going to cause him to crumble under the pressure and everything's going to fall apart, which I hope that's not what happens. I would really like to get a booking team to help him out. Wink, wink. Tony, please, if you're listening.
I think Ace Steel was supposed to supposedly help him with CM Punk's creative.
Well, I mean, is he helping with the rest of the roster or just CM Punk?
Well, I mean, let's figure Punk's probably the one shaping the whole show, I would think, as far as most of it.
Okay, so
my thing is, what gets lost in this is ROH. Are you still trying to seek a ROH TV deal, or are you going to have ROH specifically operate within AEW based off the three shows that you have now? Or maybe can he parlay into maybe one of the shows like the Rampage on Friday night be primarily ROH or something to that effect? And also, how do you do the pay-per-views? Granted, they don't have a monthly pay-per-view. It's just a start to where, remember when WWE 1 month would be Raw pay-per-view, next month would be SmackDown, and you did that. So are they going to go in that direction or just stick with the main four that they do?
I think they stick with more or less
combine the pay-per-views on that route.
Less is better.
Yeah. Well, they defended the Ring of Honor Pure title Friday night on Dynamite, not Dynamite, Rampage. By the way, Shibata is incredible.
Yeah.
No one ever thought he was.
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm saying, though. It's like, so how are you going to operate ROH within all this? Because now you're dealing with two separate rosters, plus a show you bought because you wanted to save the lineage or save the history of that show. But what are you going to do with it now? Because right now it's just basically,
ROH needs a TV deal because it's just too much excellent wrestling on that show.
It's only on
keep it on an online streaming service. It needs to be on TV. They need a TV deal, I think, to start bringing in some revenue.
I think they're
something to survive.
And a lot of these guys need more exposure.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor's great if you've ever watched one of the shows. I like it. It's really good.
But
exactly. And you have the wrestlers.
Well, you have to have somebody that bootlegs it on YouTube and then gets caught and gets a copyright strike. But yeah, the show's great. I love Ring of Honor.
But who is watching Ring of Honor Honor Club other than people who were already big Ring of Honor fans? What new fans are being brought in to this show?
It's only on the streaming service, right? That's the only way it's coming. I mean, how many?
Yeah, but I mean, what new fans are they drawing in with that?
Oh, none.
Probably. If you don't grow, you don't survive. You either grow or die.
Because right now you're only appealing to the hardcore fans that really follow it, as opposed to try to bring in a casual fan, which that can snowball into being more revenue and things like that. So what are you building? It's like, Tony, you got all these fires in the iron, or all the irons in the fire. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to mold it, shape it, or bring in other people to help you shape it to be this big competitor to WWE, that the whole reason that you started this company?
Not even so much a competitor to WWE, just a successful company.
An alternative.
Well, successful, yeah. Yeah.
Probably more just an alternative.
Yeah.
He's a juggernaut, steamroller. No one's ever going to overtake him unless they just.
Yeah, but I mean, you can come close. I mean, they can be what TNA should have been.
They turned Gunther into a Nazi or something.
Oh, well.
It's like maybe they didn't own that get down a little bit.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see how all this plays out as far as with Collision with CM Punk. And maybe this will make Punk, well, it's not going to make Punk do anything per se, but maybe this will keep him happy enough to where he can stay sustained and operating within AEW for a long sustained time to bring back some of those crazy fans that are going to be there. And of course, with Collision opening up in Chicago, that's going to automatically, make the crowd pop hard anyway. The instant that song comes on, you instantly know what type of reaction you're going to get.
That show's going to sell out.
What if he screws up again? Do you think, does he have anywhere to go if he pulls another stunt?
Well, here's
Japan?
the thing: was this a Punk screw up or was it the Elite? We don't know the real story.
Well, it was the words that he did on the scrum that led to the locker room fight. So basically, if he hadn't said nothing at the press conference after winning the title, maybe, just maybe, the fight doesn't happen.
The track record, unfortunately, a lot of people.
Well, yeah, he does.
So, I mean, I don't want to say he's a cancer, but at the same time, he operates like one at times.
We talked about it. If I paid $250, somebody paid me $250 for an autograph, I would be nice to them, even if they were urinating on my shoe. So.
Yeah, and sometimes it comes down to reputation. Now, if you have a reputation of being a cancer, you definitely may want to do a little something called look yourself in the mirror, okay? And I'm not saying he's what he was the cause of it, because again, we can only speculate. But if there's a common denominator, and you're that common denominator, then you really want to look yourself in the mirror and then make an adjustment.
He's a mark for.
I'm sorry, he is. I mean, almost like narcissistic megalomaniac type, in my opinion. I mean, I know there are those out there who are the biggest CM Punk fan, and at one time I did like him, but after the pipe bomb and all that other stuff, man, I'm done with it. I mean, like I said, man, forget Phil Brooks. That's just my opinion. But he's gonna draw in the crowds. He's gonna draw in the money. So, and with AEW to even get to a sustainable level, to be even close to the WWE level, yeah, you're gonna need that type of exposure to get you there.
Yeah.
You're right. He could probably go to New Japan and wrestle.
He could,
Yeah.
but it's ultimately up to him what he does now that he basically has his own show.
Yeah, no doubt.
With his friends
And
to operate on.
And hopefully he's going to do the right thing and use this to, not only put himself over, but put some of the other guys over as well. Give some guys some exposure, give them the rub, so you can help the show as a whole. Because what good is being the top dog on the show that no one's watching?
I guess he could put Jay White over, baby, because I don't think Jay White was huge in Japan, but I don't think he and Juice are that over right now, honestly.
Well, that goes to Tony's booking. I mean, he's bringing out these big stars and not knowing what to do with them. You've got the biggest star in the world right now, Jay White. You've got the Bullet Club, which is the top angle going on outside of Bloodline, and they're just having mid-card matches with Ricky Starks. That's not doing the Bullet Club or Ricky Starks any favors.
Bullet Club just added 3 new guys.
But you also got to keep in mind too, sometimes when we speak, we may speak at a certain level of fandom or a certain level of being wrestling fans or into wrestling. whereas maybe probably 50% of those who watch wrestling aren't that hardcore, so they may not know a lot of New Japan wrestlers.
Yeah.
So that because you can tell by some of the crowd reactions when they bring in somebody from New Japan, a lot of them like, I mean, there'll be a few that come in and be like, "Oh crap, that's a pop." You hear the pop for it, but then there are some that come in you really don't hear it. So it's a chance to expose. Like if Okada came, I'm pretty much sure everybody's gonna pop if Okada shows up on AEW TV
Like
at some point.
Tanahashi, the pop for him.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see what happens from here on out. As far as how Collision goes, how they're able to incorporate the two separate, how Tony can operate the two separate rosters, and see can he make Collision actually stand out to be that old school. You remember when we were kids and Saturday nights 5:05, we had to be home to watch wrestling. Can Collision eventually become something to that effect? Because you're basically on the parent company that had that. So
Yeah.
now, can this actually be
Work.
that for us as adults?
Those were the days, man.
Oh man.
Exactly.
But you also had
So you guys, so you guys, tell us what you think about what's going on with Collision. Tell us what you think is going on with the Bloodline implosion. Leave your comments below. Be sure you share this video with your friends, and be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also hit the notification bell. And of course, they can hit us where Clinton on IG.
Ringside right now on IG. Come check us out.
That's right. And Nuxie, you can also hit on Nuxie on his YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel, Nuxie?
www.youtube.com/@Nucksy, NUCKSY. It'll be down on the screen.
That's right. Check him and Bella out as well as some of our other videos that we've posted before. So for the crew, as always, Clint, Curtis, and Jonathan, and of course, Calvin on assignment in Philadelphia. I'm Pierre, and this has been Ringside right now. Ring the bell.
Yeah.